Hello, Legend of the Samurai here with the Goal V18. This is a high pin count dimple lock from Japan, and of course they called it the V18 because it has 21 pin chambers arranged in 3 rows. Interact on the left, top, and right side of the key, and they are rather difficult to pick. There will be plenty of time to talk about the internals as I'm taking it apart, so first let's get it picked. So I'll be using a very, very small flag to start, because I need to pick the right side counterclockwise. Set one pin out of the way. Alright, I think that's the right side. I will switch to a more normal-sized flag. And there we go. There's a little bit of hunting around at the end, because with 19 pins in here, you actually have to chase a bunch of them around. So there we are, we're open, and I'm actually going to leave it in the picked state to gut it, because that makes it slightly easier to keep track of pins when you don't have to remove the key from the plug. Alright, I was hoping this works. And this is just a little plastic tube to keep pins from going everywhere while I'm dealing with other things. Alright, start from the front. Alright, so this is the right side. Go in the first row. Top. Left. And bear with me, this will be a little bit. So this is one of the odd chambers where instead of an active pin, there is a ball bearing detent that centers the plug. No. spring. There is the driver. Where did that go? I'll take out the rest and then see if I can find that. Is one of the hazards of high pin count locks. Move to the back. Left. Alright, and then one of the special things about this cylinder is the spacing is very different between the side and the top. So there's actually a bunch of blank spacer pins. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those take up space, so they don't have to use longer springs or longer drivers. Alright, now the plug itself has 3 rows of 7 pins, and it's got 2 of these little warding pins up at the front. So take those out first. Come on. All right, so starting on the right. This is one of the pins for the ball detents. It's got a little divot in the top. All right, there we have everything except, ironically, the lone standard driver, because this key pin is long enough that it is in fact a zero lift. One moment, let me see if I can find that. Ah, there it is. All right, so in terms of drivers, if you have zero lifts, there are these standard drivers. They are cupped. And then every other driver is a spool or a mushroom, depending on how you look at it, also cupped. And they are very sharp at the tip, and they catch on the plug and the housing very, very strongly. So when I'm picking this, I cannot force anything to set without backing off of tension significantly. In terms of key pins, many of them, in fact, all of the ones that aren't max lifters, max lift pins, have this spooling at the top, which is both tapered at the top and tapered in the spool, so it'll give you counter rotation in both places. Here is another one of those ball detent pins. There are two of them. there and there. And then in the top row, you also get these oversetting spool key pins, but they have narrowed tips, so they can actually get deeper into the key without as wide a cut. And then at the front of the plug, there were these two pieces which go in, so the plug is broached completely clear, and as you put one of those in, then you have a little bit of warding. So the actual warding profile on the key, this center groove, you actually don't have to worry about that groove because the warding is only at the front. So other things to note, in the plug itself, if you can see that bright margin of the chambers, that is overmilling. In fact, there are two steps. So the lower step is what catches the lower diameter here, and so that is the lower limit of where the pin can travel, but the upper step is wider still, and it means every single one of these drivers acts additionally like a T-pin, so you have to pick all of them twice. So this is a very hard lock to pick. It took quite a lot of time and effort to figure out an appropriate binding order to attempt to go through this without dropping everything all the time. But it is doable, and I would say it's fun. Oh, right, there's a little piece of, I can only assume, drill protection, because that doesn't hold anything in place other than being an extra piece of steel. And then, in terms of the housing, not too much special. It would be tempting to remove these chamber covers in order to put pins in, but the way these are assembled, they are crimped in place, which in and of itself isn't a problem, but this front cap is also press fit and crimped on, and it's deep enough that it actually covers all of the front pin chambers. So even if you took these out, you wouldn't be able to load pins in the first couple of chambers. So in that case, it's easier to gut it with a follower. It does take a normal half-inch follower, but having a solid one with a groove is very useful for these high pin count locks because you can deal with directly opposed pins without worrying about losing a bunch of them. All right, so there we are, Goal V18, picked and gutted. Go close on these. Many, many pins. This is, I believe, the most pins I've ever picked thus far, at 19. All right, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.